So you lost to a haze. She had ricochet, unstoppable, silencer, crippling headshot, blah blah blah, big pain, lots of items. Ouch. There's nothing you could have done. It was over. Haze is overpowered. Valve, please fix Ice Frog, nerf, immediately. Not quite. It'd be more accurate to say Haze is overpowered at a certain point in the game. But here's the thing, so are you. Let me introduce you to a concept referred to as power spikes. Every character in the game has 1 or 2 or 3. Some power spikes come early, some come mid-game, some come late, all depending on the hero. To explain the concept, a power spike is a specific point in a match when a character becomes significantly stronger. This is usually due to one of two things: the acquisition of a skill point or the purchase of an item. I'll give an example of someone with an early power spike. So Wraith. At 2.2 thousand souls, Wraith can put 2 points into her cards. This means that with extra charge and infuser, Wraith has 3 cards and will grab a 4th while actively shooting. If she decides to go all in with cards while shooting, she can do about 800 damage in a super short period of time, which is pretty much enough to 100 to 0 any character at that point in the game. Power spikes also happen as late as, say, Haze. When she gets max ult, she's got unstoppable and whatever assortment of expensive gun items. She just feels like a superpower that you can't control sometimes. Timing is a really important factor in a game like Deadlock, and a very good example of this is the 3000 soul mark. Getting access to your ult before your opponent is hugely important, especially in a solo lane. If you have ult and they don't, you should be pressing your advantage and trying to kill them. If you're successful, congratulations. You've just created a bigger soul gap in your lane, and you should be able to abuse this to continue the cycle. You've got the souls from the kill and probably a free wave. Use the money to buy items and use your item advantage to keep your enemies out of the lane. On the flip side, if you're behind in souls and your opponent is going to beat you to 3k, you've got two options. You can try and kill them immediately, or you can decide to play the lane a little more safely so you can't be dived when they get their ult. I'll leave that up to you to decide in the moment. So now you're thinking about the early game sort of universal timing of ult, but it happens outside the lane phase too. You should know your hero's biggest power spike so that you can get active around the map. You want to be abusing your power spikes as much as possible. Force the game into a state where you can play at your strongest point. Are you stronger early? Are you stronger later? How can we force the game into a favorable position early? These are the things that you want to be thinking about. Say you're playing Paradox. You've got the obvious kill potential with ult, but let's go a little past that. If you're looking to get active early to benefit both yourself and the team, you'll be looking to get active at around 9 to 10,000 souls. This is because Headhunter is an early core item that will give you a decent power spike. You want to be roaming between lanes looking to get a pick by forcing a 2-on-1 encounter with a teammate. Another example is if you're playing Haze. You'd be looking to get super active after buying something like Burst Fire. It's a bit later in the game, but around 15 to 20k souls when you're ahead, you can be looking to force quick encounters with your team to burst down enemies and leave them lying on the floor while you disappear back into the shadows. Haze is known for being quite strong in late game, but a good player will be able to come online and pressure the map a lot sooner. If a Haze is ahead, no hero should feel safe sitting solo. You should constantly be thinking about how you can get the game into the most favorable position with either playing safe early or being aggressive early. Identify and abuse your strengths while identifying and abusing their weaknesses. Understanding when heroes are strong and what to look out for will take a little bit of time to learn, but if you're actively thinking about these things, I think you're ahead of most average Deadlock players. So now that you know about power spikes, what can you do against them? How should you change your game plan, and what can you do about those ultra late game scaling heroes? Let's talk about creating pressure. Split pushing is an excellent way to create pressure across the map. There's something that's always true in Deadlock, and that is the carry can't be everywhere at once. If you're separated in another lane while a fight breaks out, instead of trying to scramble across the map, most likely to not even make it in time, you can pressure their objectives much harder and steal some of the enemy camps on the way out. This way, regardless of if your team wins or loses a fight, you've actually created more map control and a better game state for your team. There's a lot that can be said about split pushing and map movement, so I think I'll save it for another video. But to summarize it quickly, if you're able to force the enemy to chase you and you can get out before they're able to kill you, you're going to be creating an advantageous map for yourself. Another way to shut down spikes is to consider when you should be buying items. It's okay to deviate from your build to shut down an enemy. Winning in Deadlock isn't about achieving a perfect Giga Max Ultra DPS build, but it just comes down to killing their patron. Think about what the goal of the enemy is, and how you can be a pain in the ass and stop them from achieving the things that they want to do. Is the enemy going to be strong through their spells? Grab a silencing hex. Are they going to be elusive and mobile? Grab a slowing hex or a knockdown to stop them from getting away. There's a lot of options through actives, but also think about things like anti-heal for a geist abusing their leech power spike. You've also always got the very expensive option to put someone on tilt with the be-all end-all that is curse. Soul Rebirth just got removed, so if you kill their ultra carry in the duration of curse, all they can do is sit on a grey screen and twiddle their thumbs. So now you've got some options for aggressively shutting down enemies at their spikes. What about when you need to survive? Play defensive. Surviving just a few extra seconds in Deadlock can literally be the difference between a win and seeing the defeat screen. To win teamfights, it's so important that you're actually able to play your hero. Cast your spells or shoot in the way that you want to. Dying without making any impact is one of the worst things you can do. Imagine a snowballing lash at their power spike. They're coming through with huge damage ground strikes. Think about items like Ethereal Shift to dodge stuns or high burst. What about a haze that's running amok? Think about something like Metal Skin if you're getting shredded by bullets. Both are really excellent ways to buy yourself an extra 4 seconds during a fight, which could be the difference between allowing your team to connect with you. What about someone like a Infernus or a Pocket who's smashing you with damage over time effects? Your answer is debuff reducer and later debuff remover. Any of these spells which are going to create a lasting impact on you over time, they're going to have their effects greatly reduced when you pick up these items, and then entirely shut out once you can remove them with the upgrade. You're afflicted, burning, silent, stunned, knocked down on your head. The answer is almost always debuff remover. On top of the active to purge effects, the 40% base resist is massive. Affliction and burn will do 40% less damage. Stuns, disarms are 40% shorter, meaning you can survive and get back to playing the game a lot quicker. Debuff remover will work on pretty much everything in the game, with the exception of curse, because you can't use items in curse. But it'll actually still shorten the duration of curse by 40%. You're probably thinking, damn, this seems really overpowered. It is. It's really strong, and there's honestly not many games in which the debuff set of items are bad. Now that you know about power spikes and items, here's a big tip to weave into your gameplay that should increase the success rate of these options. Whenever you have downtime, such as going to the shop to buy an item, you're zipping to base, you're dead, you should be looking at your opponent's items and their skill points. Knowing what they've bought or what they've put points into is something that can hugely change the tide of an upcoming fight. For example, knowing that the enemy has a silence glyph or knowing that their hyper carry just hit a really important skill point can help inform your decision on how to play out a fight or who to apply an active to. So let's summarize this video really quickly. What do you need to know to win more games? You need to maximize your character's power spikes and either prevent or minimize your enemy's power spikes through your decisions. Each hero in Deadlock has at least one power spike per match, sometimes more. When and what is it? How can you create a timing that allows you to hit this power spike sooner? When will the enemy want to abuse their power spike? Think about what you can do to create pressure around the map away from the enemy carry. Split pushing objectives and stealing enemy camps if you can't make it to a fight. Think about what items you should be buying to either shut down or disable certain players, or for your own survival. Everything we covered are small things that will help you to not just play Deadlock, but to thrive and enjoy your games more. If you learned something from this video, leave a like and a sub. Let me know what you'd like me to talk about next. I'm also streaming on Twitch if you'd like to come say hi. Cheers!